Hello, YIMBYs! I wish we could all be together because YIMBYs know how to throw a great party. I'm David Chu, Chair of the Assembly Housing and Community Development Committee, and I want to thank you for everything you've been doing during this housing and homelessness crisis, before the pandemic, during, and into the future. For years, the only grassroots voices that would weigh in on pro-housing legislation were NIMBY voices, and you've changed that. It's been so critical to have your grassroots voice and vision to provide support and courage to elected officials so that someday, hopefully, we will ensure that every Californian will have a roof over his or her head. We've had some great victories, we've had some losses, but we know that a crisis decades in the making will take years to turn around. While we may lose some battles, someday our housing movement will prevail. Thanks again, and enjoy the evening.
Hi everyone, this is Buffy Wicks, Assembly Member in the beautiful East Bay, and I'm excited to talk about why the YIMBY movement is so important. I am a product of the YIMBY movement. The YIMBYs supported me in my first race and continue to support me all the way through. And I've worked so closely with the YIMBYs on legislation in Sacramento. In my district, we've had a 47% increase in homelessness in the last couple of years. This is not okay. And we fix it by having more housing. And so I am in the foxhole with the YIMBYs. I work with you guys on so many different things, and I could not do the work that I do without you. So just a huge shout out to everyone in the YIMBY movement. Thank you so much for what you do. I'm gonna be there with you. I'm gonna always show up for housing. I can assure you that. And I look forward to what we can do in the future. Thanks so much.
Behind me is the nurses' barracks. 25 years ago, Fort Ord closed, and this building has sat empty the entire time. Local developer is gonna reuse it. 40 new apartments, 8 low-income, deed restricted. It's really critical in our community that we build more housing. We've got 2,000 homeless students out of a total population of 10,000 students. And so every housing unit that does not get built is a lost opportunity to eliminate poverty and grow a stronger, healthier, and more successful community. And I'm so grateful to join your ranks as a YIMBY and advocate for abundant housing across all of California.
The importance of affordable housing is very personal to me. Just like many families, rent became extremely expensive, where my wife and I actually had a conversation about moving away from the city that I love. This experience has fueled my passion for affordable housing because I know what it feels like to almost move away. This is why my work with housing advocates and YIMBYs is so important. With your help, we were able to pass one of the largest affordable housing projects in South San Francisco. Thank you to all the YIMBYs out there and their supporters. Keep fighting the good fight.
I love the YIMBY movement because it made developments like this one possible. This is Jack Capon Villa in my city. It is 60 affordable apartments for adults with disabilities. And it was made possible by the advocacy of groups like YIMBY. We need more of these developments, so keep doing the great work you're doing. Thanks for everything.
Every change that you make in cities like Austin and New York and San Francisco, all the changes that you're pushing for, help us right here in Seattle. You've pushed a more equitable public policy agenda, and we're stepping up. I got elected as a renter. I'm now a first-time townhome owner, starting my family here in the city that I work, and I want more people who look like me to be able to do the same. We'll continue to fight together alongside one another in this diverse coalition that you all have helped create.
And I just wanted to thank everybody who's watching this today for your activism in trying to encourage pro-housing policies in your communities. When I was first elected to the Palo Alto City Council in 2012, there was no organized pro-housing groups. And so we'd have the same people come to city council meetings every single week to oppose projects, to lessen the density of projects, and very few people will come to support the housing that I knew my community so desperately needed. I've seen how important this is at the local level, now at the state level. Just want to really thank all of you for the work that you're doing to make sure that we in California build the housing we so desperately need for our community and our residents, our friends, our neighbors, and the people that help our communities run.
I represent an area of Berkeley where we have our roots in racist redlining and exclusionary zoning. And now I have hope that we're going to be able to change this together. So I truly think this is one of the most important transformative justice movements of our time. So much so that it's actually being discussed on the national stage during prime time. This is thanks to you. You are doing the work. You're sitting through our interminable meetings. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. And let's keep it going.
It's hard to overstate how impactful the YIMBY movement has been in moving our housing conversation forward. The YIMBY movement has changed everything about our housing conversation, has created political space that didn't exist before to advocate for pro-housing policies. I rely on the YIMBYs as our army, as the people who help us to get bills passed. And without the YIMBY movement, I don't know what we would do. So thank you so much for everything you do, and let's keep fighting.
In my 5 years in local government, I have seen the YIMBY movement change the tone around housing. By showing up and speaking up, YIMBYs have held up housing as more than a policy idea, as a value and a human right. You make my job easier by showing that communities care about housing. Those letters, calls, public testimonials matter. Our work is by no means done, but with your support, we're gonna get so much more done together. Thank you, and keep it up.
We have a lot of restaurants, businesses, opportunities here, but not enough housing. I was born and raised in Palo Alto. I love this community deeply, but I really worry about our future. What does this place look like in the next 10, 20, 50 years? I think that future needs to involve a lot more housing. In terms of equity, the environment, the economy, I think Palo Alto needs to be a place that welcomes more neighbors, more families, more young people, more guys on skateboards. I cannot say how much it means to me that there's a YIMBY movement in the Bay Area, in the state, across the country. It means so much to me as an elected official to hear young people, diverse groups stepping up and standing up and saying, we need more homes. Our people need places to put down their roots, to send their kids to school, to get a good job, to engage in new opportunities.
As I stand here outside of my home, I think about what we've learned about the importance of home over the last 7 months while we've been battling coronavirus. Homes have become our places to work, our places to learn. They're a safe place to keep our kids healthy, to keep our parents healthy, and to make sure that all of us have a roof over our heads. I think we've also learned about the really critical issues of systemic racism and how they have contributed to lack of housing, to people's inability to have a safe place to call home. And that's why I'm so grateful to everyone who's a housing advocate, grateful to YIMBY Action for the work that they're doing to make sure that everyone in California has a place to call home. I'll always stand beside you in advocating for more housing for all Californians, and I hope that everyone who's watching this video will join me in that work. Thank you.
I want to congratulate and commend the YIMBY pro-housing movement, its members, staff, and activists for their dedicated and effective advocacy and for working to create more and more affordable housing so that all people may have a place they call home, where they live in economic dignity and social stability with their families. Congratulations and keep up the movement.
I'm in my backyard to say, I think we need more housing in Santa Cruz. If you are a lucky person who lives here in Santa Cruz in a house or apartment, you were the benefit of someone's idea to develop that property and build it into something that you can live in. It's time for us to think about our children and their children and develop the town in a way that makes sense moving forward. We need to look at affordable workforce and market rate housing that makes Santa Cruz a better place and a place where everybody can call it home.
We must solve the housing shortage because too many people who grew up here, people like me, can't afford to live here. I've seen too many people I know leave, not because they want to, but because they can't afford to stay. For decades, we failed to prioritize building housing, affordable housing, market rate housing, all kinds of housing. We need leaders and advocates who understand that building housing does make a difference. that every housing project blocked is a home denied, that every extra layer of bureaucracy is another month or year delay. We need to make it easier to build housing, especially as we emerge from COVID and get ourselves on the road to recovery. When we come out of this recession, we will add more jobs. And when we do, we have to add housing for those same workers. We can't repeat the failures of the past when we add one home for every 8 jobs. Thank you to all the YIMBY advocates out there who understand this, who are fighting for the future. Let's do this together.